What's going on, guys? Drew Riley here, and I want to film what should be a relatively quick video on making some quick and dirty bearing adjusters for your JoesCnc router. Before I get into this, any of you guys watching this on my YouTube channel, this is mainly meant for the JoesCnc Builder Forum, so you guys may not get a lot out of it, but I do want to say if you are thinking of building your own CNC router, I think it's worth every penny to get access to that forum. Not just for building a JoesCnc machine, but even just CNC building in general. There's a lot of very valuable information, a lot of subforums on there, and definitely worth the price of admission. I'm not sure what it is currently. I think it's about 125 or 150 bucks. Don't quote me on that, but check it out. It is worth it. Now, there is almost too much info there at times, and some of it is getting just a little bit dated, but it's still a very good resource, again, whether you're building one of his machines or not. So I do recommend getting a membership there, and that will come with plans, not only for, I think, his hybrid machine, but also the plans that are integral to the forum itself, which is what I'm using to build this Evolution machine. So I'll go ahead and say that, and I'll also say that I'm going to give you a tip on how I made my bearing adjusters, and I did manually machine these carrier plates myself, but Joe does also still offer those on his website at a very reasonable cost, especially when you start factoring in the raw materials, the time, and the effort to make them yourself. It's definitely worth it, and by the time I got done making mine, I almost wished I'd just gone ahead and purchased some from him. Definitely would have saved me a lot of time and headache. But nevertheless, if you're as stubborn as I was and you're building everything yourself, I do want to give you a quick tip on making your own adjusters. And if you're a member of the forum, you've no doubt seen the plans. You know how Joe makes his. They do have a little bit of a shoulder around the hole that the bearing bolt goes into. And that is for the inner race of this bearing to rest on so that the outer race isn't binding on the face of the carrier. And that is a very important feature, and one you can't really go without. So originally I was making these, I was going to turn them down on the lathe the same way, and I got to thinking there was maybe a quicker and easier way to do this. So the way I cut my carrier bodies out was pretty simple. I just used a 1 7/8 inch hole saw, which gives you just under the 1 3/4 inch diameter that the plans call for. Now that being said, these don't have to be round. They could be square, hexagonal, even triangular shaped. The main thing that you want for these is parallelism of the face, and then you want the hole distance to match your routed adjuster slot and the pivot hole distance on your carrier plates, however you do that, so that you have, obviously free range of motion there. So I had some 3/4 plate. I just plugged these out with the hole saw on my milling machine. You can use a benchtop drill press easily enough. The more rigid your setup, obviously the better it'll be, but you can see it does give you a little bit of a rough surface finish. Not critical, not a big deal. If I wanted to, I could clean this up a little better on a disc sander or a belt sander, or even turn it down and clean it up on a lathe pretty easily. You can also start with maybe a little bit bigger of a hole saw if you want to get down to that 3/4 or make them exactly like Joe's plans. That'll give you some extra material to play with. But as for me, I'm really not worried about that side finish. Again, the important thing is flatness and parallelism, which most aluminum plate is close enough, especially for these sizes and tolerances. So after you get your pivot hole and your bolt hole drilled, then it's just a matter of getting what is called a shoulder shortening shim. I've also heard them called bolt shims. They're very similar to a machine bushing, although machine bushings normally don't come down to this small of a size. These are 4 3/8 inch diameter bolts, which is what this is. And these are 30 thou thick. You can get these anywhere from 2 thou, I think, up to 60 thou. And this is just going to space our inner race off of the face of this bearing carrier. So place that on the bolt like so. You don't need one on this side really, because the bolt goes right against that without hitting your seal or your outer race at all. So that'll go on the inside, and then that'll just go there, and you can see it spaces it out. Again, whatever the thickness of the shim or the washer is there. And they're very accurately made. Again, these are all 30 thousandths. I think tolerances are 1,000th or less. So plenty for our purposes. And this will just go down here. I've already got a carrier in place. And your washer, lock washer, and nut will go on the other side. And you could snug these up at least enough to where you could still, you know, make your adjustments up and down. But you can snug them up and it's never going to bind against the face of your carrier. So real quick and easy. Again, just however you want to get the body cut out, whether it's a hole saw or cutting some plate or, you know, hexagonal material. Again, you want to make sure you're as parallel as you can be, and then put that little shim in there, pop your holes in, bolt it together, and you're good to go. And here is one that I do have more or less already adjusted, and it works very well. Absolutely no play in there whatsoever, side to side, up or down, axially. It's very solid, and you can see rolls very smoothly, and that's just with minimal adjustment. I could probably even make that better. I'm going to wait till I get my gantry installed. But that's really pretty much it, guys. Again, by all means, if you're wanting to save some time and, you know, possibly even get a better product, buy them from Joe. If you want to make them yourself, though, they're not quite as daunting as the plans may make them seem. You know, you don't need a lathe. You don't need to mill those shoulders in place. You could just use a little shoulder shim for bolts. And you can get a pack of 50 of them. I think I paid 20 bucks on Amazon for them. I know I've seen them cheaper elsewhere, but that's about the standard price for about 50 of them is $20. So what's that, about 40 cents a piece, give or take. You do need 16 of them is all for the 16 bearing carriers. And just a little bit cheaper and quicker way of doing things if you do not want to purchase them from Joe, which again is probably worth every penny, but I'm kind of stubborn that way. So that's it, guys. I'll stop rambling on. Hopefully this video helps you, or those of you guys who are thinking of building one, or maybe already have built one, if you want to redo your carriers at all. This is an easy way to do that. So thanks for watching, guys.